So tell us about some of the things that maybe a scenario that you have that you can share with us where you went into a company and sort of this was what you were met with, and then this is how you, sort of engaged them, came up with a plan, and was able to turn it around in a successful way for them.
Right. Absolutely. Sure. Well, I'm thinking of a scenario that I guess most listeners will have experience of, and that would be first 100 days in a new role, whether you're stepping up within an organization or you're joining an organization. The natural sort of response when you land a new job and you start is you want to prove that you were the right hire, that they were right to bring you in, offer you the job. And that puts a certain amount of pressure on us, and we become a little bit impatient, well, very impatient actually, to deliver results, right? But I'd say that's a big mistake. It's a really big mistake because you don't yet know what's really expected of you, and you don't know the political landscape that you've stepped into, and you don't know the strengths of your team, especially if you're coming in from as an external member. And so you're pretty much guaranteed to fail if you don't have the right information to make the decision. And here's the thing, Jim. There's no let up in the pressure. The people that hired you expect you to know what you're doing, and the team that you're now leading is trusting that you know what you're doing. But we all have doubts and we all have questions. And so where do leaders turn to when they have those questions and those doubts? It's not necessarily going to be the team or the people that hired them. And that's where I come in. My role is to hold a confidential space for them. I'm their sounding board. That's where we can together, I'm really there with them, and we together work out what their strategic and tactical thinking is, so that they can make strong decisions. That's what's expected of them as leaders. And really focus on what the business needs rather than get sidetracked by other people's agendas. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients landed a new role, very exciting role, and she was having meetings, obviously, with her boss and her peers to get briefed on her team and the project. And there's a lot of the conversation she found focused on some difficult characters, supposedly within her team. And she came away from that and she rang me and she said, I think I've taken the wrong job. I think this is not the culture that I thought I was stepping into. Because the signals that she was getting were, you either need to improve the performance of those people on your team, or you need to manage them out. And that's not the kind of thing you really want to hear when you join an organization. So I'll call her Jen, she started to feel like that was her responsibility. And she's incidentally, she's a very accomplished professional in a senior role. So we started working together and dissecting her situation. And I supported Jen and challenged her to go back and map out her new role again and sit down with her boss and ask him some very clear questions like, what is your top concern? What is it that you think I should achieve in my first 3 months? What is your definition of success? And here's my definition of success. What do you think? And are there some gaps, and how can you help me? And now she had a much better, more realistic one, rather than the stuff that was going on in her head, or the stuff that was coming out of meetings with her peers. She actually had a much better hold on what it was that she was tasked to do. And then the next piece of it was to sit down with each of her team members and ask them, what do you enjoy about your work? What is it that's challenging? What would you like to change? and how can I help you with that process? So she had a much clearer picture of what was critical, the things that could wait, who she needed to align with, and where she was going to make the biggest impact and maybe have some quick wins that established her credibility. And she continues to be successful in that role. Now, had Jen rushed into that and felt and responded to the pressure of delivering stuff quickly, she would have made some irreversible mistakes. I've seen leaders become scapegoats and they get booted out as fast. Yeah, they get booted out as fast as they come in, right?
Yeah.
And the other piece of it is, Jim, the other piece is I've worked with teams who've become jaded because they've seen so many leaders come and go. Now that is a massive, massive cost to companies. And they're most certainly not profitable projects when that happens. That's when companies lose clients or the project just folds and gets ditched. It just fails. So, and incidentally, the characters that were seemingly a problem for her peers, that was a legacy issue. That was a personality clash. And so I worked with Jen with her team as well and figured out, how could they communicate with people who just had a very different style to them. They were in different practices and their heads were wired differently. So how could they do that? So that's an example of how I go in, work with a leader, and then, the work that I do unfolds into working with their teams because they all need to be in sync.
Exactly.